42, the One to Go show, fueled by Blue Line Brews and presented by Dirt Track Supply. That is Ryan Aho. I am Puka. Haven't seen me for a while, but it's great to be back on the One to Go show, Ryan.
You cut out there a little bit. We're having technical difficulties. I feel like we're on MAV TV here. Things cutting out already. We'll give it a go, but I'm doing good. Over in Illinois, actually going to head west here tomorrow. Going to go there for a few days over to Minnesota and over to the Dakotas. Going to make the rounds, but I promise wherever I'm at, Puka, I'll have my MAV TV tuned in because East Bay. I'm jacked for East Bay late models. We'll have that on for sure. How the heck you doing? I know you've been focusing on the hockey stuff, right? Is it Tea with Miss McGill? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And if you haven't
Miss McGill, yeah, for those of you that are Minnesota high school hockey fans.
Well,
you what?
Yeah, I was gonna say if you haven't seen the movie Youngblood, right? Tea with Miss McGill. Oh. So I mean, the hockey people understand that. Krause, he gets it, but if you don't know what Tea with Miss McGill is, just jump on somewhere, YouTube or whatever, watch the movie Youngblood with Rob Lowe, and you'll understand what Tea with Miss McGill is all about. So I tell you,
Rob Lowe, Keanu Reeves, a young Patrick Swayze was 1986. Yeah, it's a great flick.
It's a classic. It's absolutely a classic. So were you the Patrick Swayze, or were you more the Rob Lowe when you played hockey?
Well, yeah, Patrick Swayze. We'll go with it. Yeah. The veteran leader.
I don't know. He was kind of rough and tumble. I thought you were more that finesse player. Maybe. Well, I think Steve-O was a defensive guy. I'd say he's more like Patrick Swayze. He was the rough guy. You're the goal scorer.
He was the rough and tumble. That's for sure. I think he led the conference in penalty minutes your senior year.
Yeah, he probably did. I don't want to go back to the days. I'm still a sore loser. I'm a sore loser big time, and it's all because of hockey, but it is what it is. So let's go from speaking of a blast to the past, talking about the old days in hockey, how about a blast to the past in racing? Of course, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. If you're self-employed, if you're paying for your own health care, chances are you're probably paying way too much, and you're probably aware of that. Hit me up. Been able to save people, Puka, anywhere between $800, $1,000 a month per family. I mean, it's been incredible. You can go anywhere, and it just takes 2 seconds to get somebody a quote. If we can help you out, that'd be great. So, episode 115. Okay, so what Bert and I've been doing, I know it's been a while for you, is we've been kind of talking about people we know that were number 115 or 15, and just kind of sharing a little bit about them. Do you have any in either number, 115 or 15?
I do not have a 115, but what 15 comes to mind for me is, of course, Steve Francis, who's, I think, what is he, the Lucas Oil? Is he like the tech director, I believe, for Lucas Oil?
Yeah. So he kind of spearheaded that whole kind of trying to get the rules packages together with World of Outlaws this year. So hats off to the old Kentucky Colonel himself, but he had a couple good years. Did he ever win a Lucas Oil championship?
I don't believe he did. I think he only won one World of Outlaws. When he was kind of in his prime, Bloomquist was also in his prime. He ran a lot of seconds. It was kind of like Mark Martin. How many times did Mark Martin get second in NASCAR? It was Earnhardt or Rusty or Gordon. He just couldn't quite get over the hump. But I think he has one Woo title. We'd have to, if someone knows, please comment. But I don't think he ever won a Lucas one, but I think he snuck a Woo one out at one point.
I think you're right. So I have a number 115. Okay, I'm going to give you a clue. NLRA. Only driver to win. It was either 5 or 6 decades where this gentleman's won a feature.
Tom Corcoran?
Tom Corcoran
really?
Sent me a picture a while back. He goes, hey, when you get to it, I had a number 115. Obviously, I'm posting it here for you all to see. But Tom Corcoran, the T1, still getting after it. Heavily involved with racing. Yeah. Has been for a long time. Kind of miss, come over. He used to come over once in a while to Hibbing for like Labor Day. Love to see them guys come back. Hopefully we can get them to Grand Rapids for the NLRA show. That's going to be the end of June this year. But Tom Corcoran in the 115. Now, I have some 15s for you. Some of these are going to be awfully easy. You should be able to get them right away. Okay? Minot Missile.
Wait, say it again.
Minot Missile.
Oh, yeah, Donnie. Okay, yeah, Donnie Shots.
He's not known as the Minot Missile anymore. He's from Fargo now. But, yeah, of course. I mean, how do we not know Donnie Shots? What did he roll over?
Yeah, how did I not pick up?
Remember he came to Hibbing in a sprint car, and not a World of Outlaw show, but I don't know what it was, maybe All-Stars. Maybe it was a Wasota sprint. He might have been there in a Wasota sprint, but didn't he roll over like in time trials and in the heat or something like that? And then he still ended up running good, but he was on the pump for sure. Of course, late models and sprint cars. What does he have, 10 World of Outlaw titles?
10-time champ, you bet.
Yeah, so he's a Wasota guy, kind of a homer here. You know, he's World of Outlaw now, but he's a Wasota guy at heart. Now, think back to the 6-cylinder days. White and orange, number 15 in the 6-cylinder class. Brothers drove this car. In fact, one of the brothers had a stint in the super stocks, I'd say late 90s, early 2000s. I think it was early 2000s. One of them came back, drove in a super for a little while. You remember Doty and Kenny Evenson?
I don't.
Oh, man, you're killing me, folks. That's Hibbing. How can you get one wrong on him? I tell you what, Lem is going to be awfully upset with you. He's going to. All right. F-15.
Steve Forcine? Is it Forcine? See F-15?
You kill him.
No?
Seriously.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a fan of the show. Fager. Yes.
Justin the Jet Fager. I tell you what, that's a great pedigree right there. His dad, of course, was 71, so obviously the cool factor right there. Dad was 71 forever, also 52. But Justin Fager, I tell you what, he was phenomenal. He could run a super stock. He could run a late model. He was a guy that was never on a huge budget, but ultra talented and equally or more talented. Justin will get upset, but Marshall is a wheelman. Never really raced like a lot. But both of those two, they unload the car, race very little, and they'd be instant contenders. And I tell you, that's a family that really hasn't been around racing for quite a while. And it was a fixture in dirt track racing through the Northland. So Justin the Jet at F-15. Here's another one. One of the most legendary names in dirt track racing at the Proctor Speedway.
Ooh.
Tragically lost his life in a snowmobile accident roughly 20 years ago.
Yeah, with Danny? Really? Danny McMahon?
Danny McMahon. He had a 15. Now, I don't remember the story behind this. If Mike Larrabee is watching, or maybe Nick, maybe one of them guys knows the story, but he was in a 15 car. I don't think it was a whole year, but it was a portion of a year anyway. But I got a picture. Of course, I posted it up here. But yeah, the legendary Dan McMahon. Speaking of the McMahon family, I don't know if you saw the news this weekend. It would be Dan's nephew, Timmy's daughter, right? Morgan McMahon. She got married to Rodney Sanders this past Saturday. So congratulations to Rodney Sanders and Morgan, I guess Sanders now. So congratulations to them. Now, we've been kind of having a stint here, Puka. You might not know this one, but we've been doing some winged outlaw modified names, and this guy ran super stocks as well. But do you remember the name Paul Nicious? He ran down at Cedar Lake. Yep, and Tom Nicious. Now I don't know if that's a relative. I don't know if that was a dad, an uncle, a brother, cousin, but obviously must have been related. I'll never forget. Ron Jones was driving for my dad one year, '82, I think it was. And I'm here to tell you that that car was wrinkled up. I mean, it looked like it'd been through a tin shredder, right? And he's like, what the hell are you going to do with that piece of shit? Like, why are you even unloading that? The guy was just like, just dogging them. They just looked terrible. And Jones went out and waxed their asses. He's like, well, I guess it don't look fast, but it is fast, right? So that would have been Tom Nicious that had that story. Now, late model, Menard's car.
Johnny Krasinski.
Donnie Krasinski. And I remember as I think he was 88, right? And then I don't know what the story was, but he was number 15 for a while as well. But there's a guy that got after it for quite a while. Hell of a driver. I feel like he might have had a stint working maybe over at Champ Hands for Radetzky. I'm not positive. But John Krasinski, he won quite a few races kind of in that little bit of an era. What would have been mid to late 90s was kind of that era where he was pretty darn quick. And Cedar Lake, Menominee, fun guy to watch. Now, probably the biggest cheer I've ever witnessed at a dirt track race was this guy on the final lap driving by Scott Bloomquist off of turn 4 to win the Knoxville Nationals.
Oh, yeah, Burkhofer. That was a big one.
Yep, 15B. I'm telling you, the place went bonkers. I think Bloomer broke something there, but it didn't matter. It was great, though, because I don't know if you ever...
Yeah, the yoke was dragging.
Yeah, I think something on the lift bar broke and it dug in. But they did drivers' intros before that race, Puka, and they interviewed the top few guys up front. Like, what is it? What are you going to have to do? What's your plans for this race? And Berkey, they said, "What's your plans?" And he took his foot up. He goes, "It's to stick this foot up his ass." And literally the whole crowd went bonkers. Like he was basically calling out Bloomquist to start the race. Bloomer would have won if he wouldn't have broke. But that was, if you remember, that was when he was kind of calling it quits for a while. Said, "Hey, this is it." And the place erupted. It was absolutely legendary. Now, the last one I have, this is a guy here that I remember his brother. His brother was the legendary number 50 late model that ran Viking Speedway, Madison, around that area. And I'll give you a clue. His sponsor is now with Jimmy Mars, right? Bike Company.
So there's a brother Wildung, huh?
There is Dean Wildung. And he was a number 15 late model. He ran a mod. I don't remember. I think maybe he was 15 in the mod as well. But I believe Dean built what was called the perfect chassis in the modified. And I think they sold that jig to Scott Dan Ziesen, who that guy was absolutely phenomenal behind the wheel of a modified. But the Wilbun family, of course, there's another family. Speaking of Faggers, and then you got Wildung, another family really no longer involved with the sport. But I tell you what, they made their mark for sure. So that's it on a blast.
We're forgetting a friend of the show. We're forgetting a friend of the show. I just thought of. How about Nick Anvelink, a friend of the show?
Oh my! Whew. Well, he's still racing, right? He's still so shots. Yeah. I mean, we don't really talk about C students very much. I mean, we're not saying he is, but Bert said he's a C student. So I mean, but I tell you, Nick Anvelink, there's a guy that had a hell of a season this past year. Of course, winning the title for the Dirt Kings. And what is that, his third, I think, because he didn't race the one season. So, yeah, I tell you what, it's hard to forget Nick Anvelink for sure. So let's get to, let's have a little national recap, Puka. Of course, brought to you by our friend Brad Parson. And farmers, farmers out there, pay close attention, right? This is a time of year you need to be getting all your solutions. And if you're looking for solutions to current input costs, fertilizers and whatnot, these guys have the tools. Brad and his team have the tools to not only increase profits, but also increase yields. Just a great product, 15-year track record in Minnesota and the Dakotas. And farmers, if you're not using his products, somebody else is, right? So you definitely need to use them. Give yourself an edge and support those that support us. Brad Parson, of course, a late model driver. Support him, and he'll do you well. So give him a call. His number's on the screen here. I should actually mention it online. I don't have it written down in front of me for those of you who listen on the podcast. But jump on the Facebook page, and you'll see a phone number there for Brad. So give him a call. But this past week, we're in Speed Weeks, right? And they call it the Georgia-Florida Speed Weeks. Puka, I'm going to start right here. I got a question for you. It's not the Georgia-Florida Speed Weeks. What the hell? They got 3 freaking races. They go to Golden Isles. That's the only place they go. It's the Florida Speed Weeks. Georgia just kind of got their thing. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, is it really the Georgia-Florida Speed Weeks? I mean, come on.
No. The idea of Speed Weeks was Daytona, doing some dirt track racing around Daytona, getting people down south, get out of the winter chill. That was the whole idea behind Speed Weeks. But yeah, no, we can cut the Georgia out right now anytime.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I mean, this past week, right, Boyd had a race for $5,000 to win. So they're racing against the real Speed Weeks, right? And it's like none of them guys go. And they're mostly regional racers. Not saying they're bad or whatever, but let's just say, I mean, Brandon Overton, he, I'll talk more about him in a second here. But the fact is, there's a couple Georgia cars that go, but most of the Georgia drivers don't even really go. I mean, where is Jonathan Davenport from? Georgia. And I don't think he's even at East Bay.
Yeah, correct. I think he was. Yeah, I think he's skipping, right? Yeah.
Too far to drive. He didn't want to make the trip all the way down there. How the hell does somebody from Georgia? You're right there. How are you, if you're Jonathan Davenport, how do you not go to East Bay? I mean, I get it. He sucked there last year, but the year before he was pretty quick. I mean, I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense why he wouldn't be down at East Bay. And I guess it is what it is. They got 70 cars there tonight, so they got.
I was gonna say that's why. Maybe it's the high car count. And how many more years they got in East Bay? Is next year the last year?
No, they got 3 more years counting this year. There's 18 more feature events scheduled. 6 this year, 6 next year, 6 in 2024. And that's it. So I was talking to some buddies of mine. It's like, I think we're going to hook up the camper next year. And we're going to have to make the trip down there. I've been to East Bay. It's legendary. It's a place you got to go. Heat race action on right now in the background. So I'm trying to stay focused here. But let's talk Alltech. So this past weekend, I know that you had a lot of stuff going on with hockey and business and other stuff. And did you get a chance to watch any of Alltech here?
I didn't, so you're going to have to fill me all in. I mean, I kind of have an idea who the winners are, and I heard it was a really good race on the final night.
I was talking to my buddy Pete, and it's like, big half mile, typically pretty slick. I'm just not even interested in watching it. It's probably going to suck, but I figured out whatever, we'll watch it. It's Speed Weeks, we'll watch it. And night number 1 down there, Brandon Shepard coming into Alltech had 29 straight nights without a win in Georgia or Florida total, including like during the year, not just Speed Weeks, right? So dated back to, I think, February of 2020, right? So it's been a while. As we're doing the show, Brandon Shepard gets it done, and he breaks that streak, gets her done night number 1 there. And that race was, I don't know, it was okay. It was okay. The next night rained out, and then the third night was unbelievable. It was dry all night long, right? And I've been critical. When I raced, I liked racing on the dry slick, but watching, it's like, it's usually pretty boring. It's usually pretty uneventful if it's slicked top to bottom. Possible for now, I put it in my notes, possible race of the year candidate. Okay. It was that good. Right. There was a stretch there with like 10 to go. You had no idea who was going to win. They got into lap traffic, and boy, I'd be lying if I remember all the people. I know T-Mac was in the hunt, and Moran was in the hunt, and of course Jimmy Owens won. He was in there, but you had no idea who was going to win. Davenport got up in the mix there. So it got really racy. Turbo led a bunch of laps. They were dicing. They were going bottom, middle, top, and kind of zigzagging. And it was kind of like whoever made the right call in lap traffic was who got the win. And Owens found something up top in his Rocket, by the way. He switched over to the Longhorn. He got back in the Rocket, and somebody from Longhorn came down after and said, hey, congrats on the win, even though it's in the Rocket. So they were really excited about that. But I'm telling you what, phenomenal race. I was absolutely surprised, because usually the half-mile stuff, slippery, not good. And that was probably, I would say without question, this year, so far, the best late model race that I saw. So if you haven't watched it yet, it's worth jumping on and just, fast forwarding those couple restarts. It's worth watching it because it was highly entertaining. Very good. Now, a side note, how, I don't know if you heard, but Mav was having a bunch of technical difficulties down there. They were having a hard time with satellite feed and really another person. So, and that just happens, right? Technology, satellite feed, things go out, you don't get good signal. Well, the signal was so bad at Alltech that Overton's traction control didn't even work, right? So he's hooked to the satellites up, and he just couldn't get nothing going. I think he got a 9th and in 11th. It was terrible. So hopefully they got better signal for him. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm kidding. Not really. Well, maybe, I don't know. But so the fact is, he struggled. He won the first, or he got DQ'd one night, but then he actually had 2 wins. And for him, he didn't even look competitive. He wasn't even on the radar. So I was really, really surprised by that. And crowds again, I'd say the crowds at Alltech were maybe a little bit better, but not good. The crowds down there this year have been absolutely terrible. But they're at East Bay right now, watching the heat. Hudson O'Neill, he is leading on the last lap with Tanner English in second. So we've got some good heat race action down there right now. I haven't seen what the crowd looks like, but East Bay.
I was going to say, how's the crowd there? Yeah.
I'll take a look. I'll see what it looks like. But Alltech was pretty good. Now, Barry Braun capitalized on it, right? Because immediately after that race, Barry Braun, of course, has XR coming into Alltech. Remember, they're coming twice, once early in the year, once end of the year against Gateway. And he posted on there, he goes, well, there you go. There you go, crowd. That's what you got to expect. So, I mean, the promoter in him came out, and he's like, hey, take a look. There's Alltech. It was good, because going into that race, I'm like, this is absolutely terrible. It's 1 lane, half-mile boring racing. Nobody's even going to care about this crap. Well, then all of a sudden that race was good. So the winner probably in that deal was probably XR. That's probably a benefit.
And Alltech, isn't that where didn't Young Money win by like 6 seconds last year? Wasn't that Alltech where he just most dominating performance in a late model last year? I mean, I think he lapped up to like 3rd.
Yeah, he killed him. Absolutely destroyed him. Now, segueing off that, you mentioned Young Money. You know, he wasn't racing on the dirt, but he was racing a short track this past weekend. I know you saw a little bit online. I know you learned a little bit about it, but of course we're talking about the Clash at the Coliseum, the Busch Clash over at the LA Coliseum. Is that what it was? That's where I think that's where USC plays football, right?
Yeah, I think it's a football. Now they got to tear it all up. I mean, he laid on this football field, and at first I thought it was going to be dirt. I didn't realize it was going to be paved.
I was told they put over $1 million into that renovation for one race. Yeah. One race. One. I mean, and the crowd didn't look bad. I mean, it wasn't jam-packed like a USC football game, right? But it was good. It was better than any of the crowds were at Speed Weeks, I can tell you that, by a long shot. And, I know you said that you didn't get a chance to watch that. So,
there's some highlights. I did get to see how goofy looking these cars are.
Oh, my God. So, the numbers, all of them on the front of the door, they were just hideous. You know, a few of us were bantering on Facebook. It's like, what are they thinking? And I get it, because that gives the sponsor more room from the back of the door over the tire to the quarter panel. I get it. But just god awful looking. They're just stupid looking. It's unbelievable. But here's the deal. I will give them, I'm going to give them a B. Okay, I'm not going to give them an A, because there's some things obviously for improvement. I'm going to give them an A on doing something out of the box, but I'm going to give them a B on delivery of some of the things that they did. But, now comparatively speaking, typically I'd give NASCAR a D or an F, because they're too politically correct and it's just terrible. And those days are past. I've said this for a few years now. Back in the day in the 80s and all that, NASCAR was big, right? It was booming, 80s, 90s, but NASCAR is booming. Well, why? Really, it was the only racing on TV. Maybe a little bit of Indy, maybe some Thursday Night Thunder, but for the most part, NASCAR was it. If you wanted to watch racing on TV, you sat down on a Sunday, you watched NASCAR. So that's what it was, right? Well, now there is racing on. Well, it's a Monday, there's racing on right now, right? There's racing on every night, somewhere streamed. Dirt racing, sprint cars, late models, modified, stock cars, street stocks. It don't matter. NASCAR, asphalt late models, drag racing. I mean, there's any genre of racing that you want literally at your fingertips every single day, pretty much every single day all year long, or some kind of racing content. So NASCAR, it was popular because it was the only option. Not that it was bad. I was pretty tuned into it, but they got to change their game. right? You know, nobody wants to sit down for 3 hours, watch 500 miles, right? And just literally watch nobody even race until the last 10 laps. Nobody wants to watch that. So the format that they had, I thought was fantastic. They had qualifying, they had heat races, they had B mains, and they had a feature. You know, if I had to pick it apart a little bit, I'd say 150 lap feature too long. You know, I think they should have probably cut that down, you know, because the first 75 laps, everybody just drove around in a circle and didn't do nothing. I mean, Bubba Wallace tried to do little circle. He was terrible, which is good to see. I don't really like him. But the fact of the matter is they went to that short track, dirt track format, heats, B mains, features. And I saw a lot of buzz about it. And I saw a lot of people say, hey, it's about freaking time. Because it was 100 times better than the product they've been putting out for the last several years. You know, and I think if they take that now and they grow it, right, they learn from it. I get why they tried the LA Coliseum. I'm not sold on it. I get it. It's a monumental place. It's in LA. Of course, they don't have a short track there. I'd love to see them, if they want to continue to do that there, Puka, that's great. But I would love to see NASCAR once a month throughout the season, pick a short track throughout the country, right? Could be come to Rockford, right down the street from me. Come to Rockford. They got a great short track there. Quarter mile, high bank, bull ring, great racing. But I think the fans would love it. Come to an area that's populated, somewhere new, short track racing, and give them that different flavor. I think that's the direction they need to hit, and I was pretty happy to see that. You know, I mean, and I'll give them, like I said, tip of the cap. You know, doing something different, doing something. I don't want to say unique because dirt track racing does it every night. You know, they just copy that format. But it's about time somebody woke up and said, "Hey, well, we got to do something totally different there." And I think it turned out pretty well. I mean, what have you seen online, just on different banter? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, like you said, tip of the cap for doing something different. I mean, I think NASCAR to the point where they have to do something different. I don't think they got a lot of options. I think they saw some success at Bristol last year with the main series. Of course, they went to Knoxville with the trucks too, and I don't really remember how that turned out. But they needed to do something. Like I said, they wanted to hit that big market in LA. And you know, for everything I've seen on social media, you know, I think most people gave them an A. You know, you know, I mean, right away, like during some of the different segments yesterday, you know, watching, well, this is good so far. I did hear something about weird camera angles or something like that from a few people, but I think like I said,
I don't think the camera angles were bad. I mean, it's kind of like you watch Mav and they're changing camera angles and all that. It is what it is. They were trying to, you got to remember, they're used to 1.5 mile tracks where they got to have all these different angles to get the view. They were I think they took that down to this. And quite honestly, if you watch Dirt Race Central all year long in Wissota area, on a quarter-mile track, you don't need 872 camera angles. You just need to go, I mean, it's right there. You can have a couple, but you don't need much on a quarter-mile racetrack. You really don't. Now, Blake Shelton was there, and he actually went up in the booth. They had Tony Stewart and Clinton Boyer. They were in the booth, and I think Mike Joy. And Blake Shelton come in, and he's like, man, this is awesome. He goes, I just got here. He saw the last B main, which was like a Midwest modified B main at the 100, where there was a yellow like every other lap type deal, and they were yard sailing each other. He's like, this was great. He goes, this is a race you got to bring your kids to because there's literally banging and crashing in every corner. So what does that tell you, right? You know, the diehard race fans like, I don't want to see that crap. What are you talking about? I want to see a good race. The casual fan wants to see some action. They want to see somebody stuffing somebody in the fence for the win and banging off each other and bump drafting. And I get it. The traditional racers like, oh, no, we don't want to see that. That's almost like the argument in hockey, right? You do a hockey podcast where you have a certain group of people saying, well, this is hockey. This ain't boxing. What are you talking about? This is hockey. Put the puck in the net. And then you got old school people going, bullshit. Go beat the hell out of that guy. You got Lippy. He hacked on my player. He hacked on my goalie. He's getting his ass kicked, right? So there's two different groups of people. Racing's the same thing. You have some that say, hey, I want to see good side-by-side racing. I don't want to see no contact. I just want to see good racing. And other ones are like, I want to see full-out brawls. I want to see an action. I want to see somebody like get their teeth knocked out on the front straightaway. That's what I want to see. So what does quarter mile bull ring racing bring? Contact. You know,
real quick, I was just saying the Tony Stewart. I thought that was really interesting. You know, Tony Stewart's got his series out there competing against NASCAR. You know, he basically said when he formed the series, you know, NASCAR's lost their ways, so we're going to do this, you know, half pavement, half dirt. I was really surprised. Like I said, I just saw some of the highlight stuff, and yeah, there's Tony Stewart with the mic on. Were you puzzled by that at all? Did that stick out?
I'm not, because Tony's smart, right? You know, and he's got his finger in all kinds of different racing. And let's be honest, I mean, we may not agree with everything NASCAR's done, but they would be stupid to not have him involved in some realm. It's Tony Stewart. Yeah. Right? I mean, he's pretty flamboyant. I mean, so again, hats off to them mending fences or whatever happened there to get him involved. But definitely some good action-packed stuff. And well, it'll be interesting to see if they expound upon that. But if you think about this, right? So, you know, we talked about the XR race coming up, and we mentioned Gateway here a little bit ago. And now you got this spectacle of a race they did, right? Because you got racing literally from now all the way till November. You get on some of these 1.5 mile tracks, and it's like, okay, it's a race. It's like, whatever, it's a race, right? This wasn't a race. This was a spectacle. This was a full-on event, right? They had a pre-race deal going on and concerts and you know, at the intermission, which I still don't know how I feel about an intermission at a race. I mean, it's kind of weird. You know, they had, was it Ice Cube? I think it was. Yeah. You know, yeah. Which, you know, it is what it is. You're in LA, and that's what you're going to get. But they did so much more. They did the intros. You know, the announcer probably could have hyped it up better, but at least they tried to, you know, have people come down the stairs. Quite honestly, the only person they announced that did anything cool was Kyle Busch, and most of us don't like Kyle Busch, right? But I kind of like Kyle Busch because he's not afraid to say it how it is. I don't like Kyle Busch because he's such a whiner, right? But the fact is, like, he got up and he's kind of doing this, like he's playing the crowd. And when you're doing something like when you're having intros, racers, if you're listening, if they do autocar introductions or you're in victory lane, your job is to play the crowd, period. I don't get it why some of these racers don't. Most racers, I mean, literally, they announced the whole field. The only one that got it was Kyle Busch. He's the only one. Everybody else just kind of walked down. It's like, I mean, flip on WWE wrestling. I get it. It's cheesy, but I used to watch it. Sorry, Cody Packy. I know you love it, right? But the fact is, when they announce those people, they're playing the crowd. You know, think about literally for me, I'm a big football fan. I love the NFL. One of my biggest memories from intros over the last 2 decades, right, is when they introduced Ray Lewis for the Baltimore Ravens, and he came out and he was kind of doing his dance and he was playing to the crowd and everybody was jazzed up. That's the kind of stuff. It's hype. It's hype, right? You got to get them personalities out there. So dirt track racers, when they're doing introductions, I want to see some swagger. I want to see some cockiness. I want to see you pointing at the person in the front going, hey, I'm coming for you. You know, if you're in the front row, I want you to be like this or whatever. Get the crowd into it because that's what the sport needs is that entertainment value. And Kyle Busch, as much as I really am not a Kyle Busch fan, he gets it. He flat out gets it. He understands it. But let's talk about this, right? Because the difference between event mindset and racing mindset. You know, we were talking before the show, and your words, I'll make sure I got this right. Dirt track racing is stronger than ever as far as a portion of it goes. So what do you mean by that? So dirt track racing is stronger than ever? Because I don't know if I agree, but I want you to say your piece on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, and at least the touring part. You know, so let's rewind 90 days. We got the announcement at the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, increasing the point fund big time. World of Outlaw late models, increasing the point fund big time. Lucas Oil late models, increasing the point fund big time. Then we have XR stepping in. So a whole new series that kind of surprised me. Remember that Bristol week, $300,000 point fund, or was it, I think it's 2 weekends, right? $300,000 point fund. And then, of course, you got the Flow series that's going during the week. I think that the minimum now on those, wasn't it? Didn't they bump that to like 20 grand to win and all that? I think
25. 22. I think it's 22.
or 22, and then they've got the point fund. So yes, at least on the touring end for sure. At least from the numbers, it's looking like dirt track racing has never been stronger. What say you?
I think it's a mirage. Right? Because the national touring, yes, there's 70 cars in East Bay right now, but it's East Bay. There's nothing else going on, right? It's East Bay. And let's face it, it's a short track. People like it. It's East Bay. But yes, the series are kind of flourishing, but are they? You look at some of the series they've already had, empty grandstands, completely empty.
Yeah.
So as far as the National Touring Series, they're getting some good car counts, at least right now. We'll see how the whole rest of the season, when you got all these series on top of each other, we'll see if there's enough cars to sustain everything. The jury's still out. But the fact is, you look at crowds, they're empty. Now, let's segue this, right, to weekly racing, because grassroots weekly racing is what makes this kind of racing I'm watching right now possible. Because all of these people had to start somewhere to get involved with the sport. And if all these series you take the National Late Model Series, whether it's, Lucas Oil, World of Outlaw, or any other series, well, people that are in those regions where that makes sense, now they're not racing the weekly tracks anymore, right? Now they're racing the National Series. And I get it. There's more money. As a driver, I'd be all about that. I'm like, heck, I want more money, right? But on the promoter side of things, and on kind of a racing purist things, you look at it, it's like, are these specials really good for racing, or are they really bad, right? Because they're good in the realm that the drivers are getting some more money out of the gate, right? They're making some more money. Some of them, right? Not all of them, because there's usually higher entry fees, and if you don't finish, certain high enough, you ain't getting much at all. So with that said, where's the culture, right? Remember, there used to be a day where winning a track championship meant something. It meant something. Track championships, there used to be multiple people racing in all classes for a track championship. And what did that do? That got the fans engaged, because you had you come to Hibbing, you had the Tardy group, you had the Aho group, you had the Schultz group, you had the Kittner group, right? The Vessels. You had all these different groups, thinking back to Superstock, right? Well, there's a rivalry, not just us drivers, but the fan base. And your fan base came to watch you beat these other drivers. Well, now most of these drivers in any class, they don't have fan bases for so many reasons. I'd say one of the top ones is they don't have a lot of them don't even have a home track. There's tracks they race most nights, but then all of a sudden there's a special here, there's a special there, there's a special here. And they're all leaving. And you look at the grandstands and you're like, there's no people. Well, why is there no people? Because they're not engaged with their drivers, because their drivers ain't even there all the time, right? So then you look at it this way. What's the demographic? Promoters. I have a challenge for you. We're going to do this in Grand Rapids this year. I have a challenge. Multiple times throughout the year. Okay, it'll probably be a little bit of a delay getting in the nights we do this. But I think there needs to be somebody sitting there at the ticket gates with a questionnaire, and they can just keep flipping it or whatever, and saying, how old are you? How many people did you come with? Is this your first race? How long have you been coming to the races? Are you here to watch a specific driver, or are you just a fan in general? And get some of this information, because if you look at the demographic of fans right now, and I don't care if it's the national touring fans or the local fans, that age is really high. You don't see a lot of teenage fans. You don't really see that. Teenagers, young kids, people, young families in their 20s. You don't see that. And that makes me nervous, because where's the future, right? If all of our fans are my dad's age, right? Well, guess what? He probably ain't going to be a fan in 20 years, right? Okay, that just is what it is. I hope he is, but, just saying. So the fact of the matter is, you look at this, and it's like, when we were young, there was so many young people at the tracks. And now there's not.
Oh, yeah.
There's not. Now, I'm sick. I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to be my rant. First, Ryan's rant of the year. I am sick and tired of promoters, right, saying, oh, it's because there's so much to do. there's the internet, there's racing online. No. It's because the promoters don't promote. Period. They don't promote. None of them. None of them. I don't care. I don't care what track it is. I challenge somebody to give me a list of 5 promoters they know that actually promote. What I mean by promoter is this. When you have a special event, okay, at track A, that special event is not getting new people to the racetrack. All it's doing is drawing fans from the opposing tracks and drivers from the opposing tracks to come there because it's a so-called special. It's not doing anything to grow the sport. All it's doing is whoring everybody away from the tracks that they already support, getting them to theirs. And then they're calling those tracks and saying, hey, can you cancel on Saturday? Can you schedule this night off for our special? That's not growing the sport. Okay, these specials are absolutely, I don't care if it's a touring series, I don't care if it's a street stock series, a super stock series, a mod series, a late model series, I don't care. None of them are growing the sport. 0 of them. They're hurting the sport. They're good for the drivers, and I like them. I enjoy watching them because you get a good group of drivers together. Not saying it's all bad, but all of these promoters have flat out forgot what it means to actually promote. I was talking to Jody Belfi Puka the other day, and I'll just give you an example. We're talking about culture, right? We want to create a racing culture. Wouldn't you think that for a banquet, right? For a banquet for your track, that you'd reach out to every driver, sponsor, volunteer, Hall of Fame member, everybody to try to get them there to kind of create a little bit of a buzz? Gondik Law Speedway, Shane Sobraski races 2 cars there. His car owner sponsors a racetrack. They never even got invited to the banquet. How does that happen? How does that happen? Right? So you got people at these, yeah, it's unbelievable. You get people at all these tracks who are like, I didn't even know there was a banquet. Several people. It's like, how can that possibly be? That's called promoting, right? Pick up the phone, hit them up on Messenger, get a hold of them, and say, hey, here's what's going on. We'd love to have you. That's just for the bank. Okay, that's just called respect. Okay, but the fact is, promoting, okay, is this. It's not going, hey, we have a race, and we're going to just try to draw in race fans. I had this argument with Barry Braun, and I said, you don't know the first freaking thing about promoting weekly racing. Oh, I do too. No, you don't. You don't have a clue. Barry Braun, you don't have a clue. Plain and simple. I'll debate. We'll get face to face on here. I'll debate you all day long. Because the only thing he does is he's trying to get people that are already race fans, just like every other promoter throughout the country. So he's not alone, right? But all they're doing is promoting to people that are already race fans. And the problem is, right now today, you take a Saturday night racetrack, right? If you're only advertising to people that are race fans, you're missing the boat because 50% of them are either going to a different track or they're watching Lucas Oil online. They ain't going to your local racetrack. The fact is, you need to be getting more people to these tracks that aren't already involved in racing. You got to get creative. We've got to grow the group because if it's this big, if you got a 12-inch piece, 12-inch pizza, oh, there you are. You're back. If you got a 12-inch pizza, it don't matter how many slices you cut it in, it's still only 12 inches. So you're going to have to flip your phone there, Puka, because you are completely sideways to the world.
No, and you've been bringing that up, consistently on the show. And that's one thing I had not thought of was, like you said, these specials and some of these events are not creating new fans. They're just drawing. Yeah, you're skimming off the top from everyone else to have your special. And I had never thought of it that way. So it's a fantastic point.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. The one track that I feel like when I first saw Sycamore Speedway in Illinois, I'm like, these guys don't have a clue. This is hillbilly racing. But they have a following. They have a culture. They focus on weekly racing. They also have some big events, right? They do. But they focus on the weekly stuff to try to build that core group. They have a great turnout in the crowd every night. And then you look at the racing side of it. I'm just going to be honest. The cost of racing is stupid right now. And it's only getting higher. It's a huge, huge concern. Tires, aluminum, engines, parts, you name it, gas prices, ticket prices. That's also driving a lot of drivers away. So, Puka, you're kind of freezing up there, buddy, but you're back now. Are you there? Are you with us? He's back. He's back. A little delay there. A little delay. He's up on there.
Okay. Okay.
Iron Range. He's on the Iron Range. They haven't heard of internet up there. So
gosh, I think it's too cold. I don't know what's going on. There we are. You got me?
I do.
Jeez.
So yeah, racing's in a.
We've been going for an hour here without any problems.
Yeah. So that's enough on that subject. Plain and simple. National Touring Series on the rise. Series on the rise. Weekly racing on a decline. It's a concern. Can it sustain long term? I think the series and stuff, if that's the focal point, it's going to kill racing. There has to be an emphasis on weekly racing. I'm not saying get rid of the series, but there better be an emphasis on weekly racing if you want this to thrive. So, Puka, what do you say we get?
Well, and one thing, well, one last comment on the weekly racing too is all of this streaming, which is obviously growing, and that may be a reason we're seeing some light crowds. We'll know more obviously as we go through the year. I can't remember who pointed. This is something I did not think of, but I heard it last summer where local, like you were talking about the local points and stuff, it's going to be tougher to develop that local hero racer when every week you can watch Tyler Erb, you can watch T-Mac, you can watch Brandon Shepard. You know, I mean, like we didn't have access to that, right? I mean, you got your checkered flag racing news or you got Dirt on Dirt a week later and you found that kind of stuff out, you know, or now, like I said, you know what I mean? It's turning, well, it's turning into like any major league sport, you know, I mean, you still might like you're 5 years old and you love the captain of the hockey team, but you really like, you know, Kiprazov, you know, and you get to see him because you get access through TV. And that is changing in front of our eyes with dirt track racing.
Well, that leads me to this, right? Is you got to have more classes. You got to have at least 10. I'm kidding. You don't need to have more classes, right? The fact is you need to condense the program. Okay, you can't have 3.5 hour race programs or longer. That can't happen. It's got to be 2.5 hours to 3 hours. At 3 hours, it's got to be the most, right? 2.5 hour program would be absolutely perfect on a weekly night because the people that go to the races, and I've talked to many, they're not there for the races, right? They might enjoy racing, but you can watch racing online. They're there for the culture. If the races get done early enough, you're going to see people down in the pits, visiting with the drivers, creating that culture, creating that bond. You're going to see that because at the races, I mean, I've been up in the booth with you and we have other races on our devices while we're at the races, right? We've had that. I've seen other promoters do the same thing. But the fact of the matter is, Puka froze up again there. So we'll let him jump back on. It was Bert a couple weeks ago, and Puka's back in action. Are you with us? He's with us. All right.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We've been at it forever here.
Right? No, it's all good. No, the fact is, you know, we can be jumping on watching races at the track, but the track has to be different than what you see online. Okay? Because online you can get good racing action, you can watch it, you can listen to stuff, but at the track it's culture. It's that camaraderie. It's being around the people. It's being down in the pits, behind the scenes, all that type of stuff. But if you have 4 or 5 hour long programs, that doesn't happen. So promoters, 6, 7, 8 classes is a bunch of nonsense. You gotta condense. Now, if you do 6 classes, which I'm not a fan of 6 classes, 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 40 minutes is about what you need to have, right? Anything over that, you're killing yourself. So I think the goal, the focus has to be on speedy programs and stuff going on that get the fan base involved with the drivers. And drivers, you got to work with us on that, though. You know, if the races get done early, stick around for a little bit. We're not asking you to be there for 2 hours after the races. We're not, right? Stick around long enough for the fans to come down, get a picture, say hi. And I even urge people, don't load your cars up right away. Don't. Leave the car out. You can have everything else put away, but leave the car out till the kids come down after the races. And I used to do this all the time. I remember Chasten Finkbone, who's winning races now, right? I remember that he would sit in my car and he'd hold the steering wheel and I'd hold the winch and he'd steer my car up into the trailer. He loved it. And guess what? He's a racer now. Johnny Broking did that for him. Of course, Chad Finkbone's his dad, but he was around it. And guess what? That turned into a future racer because he was around it. So leave your cars out, but everybody's got to work together to make that at-track experience more than just a race. It has to be creating that culture, and that's what it's going to take to kind of get the sport going where we need to go. So, Puka, let's move on. Get back to a little bit of what's going on in the racing world right now, but a little who's hot and who's not, brought to you by
Blue Line Brews. And look what we got here. The K-Cups are now in. So you can look for the cute little puppy here. So K-Cups are now available, bluelinebrews.com, or, these Blue Line Brews are popping up more and more in stores. If you're in the Bemidji area, Grand Rapids area, Hibbing area, across the range, Duluth, Twin Ports, over towards Ashland, their Blue Line Brews are now popping up in stores. So be watching. Like I said, the K-Cups come in a little box like this. Like I said, got the cute canine in them. Or, of course, the bags of coffee, which we've shown you before. That's what the label looks like. So, like I said, a couple of ways to get it. Jump online, bluelinebrews.com. There's actually a promo code, SAVE15, at checkout. You'll save 15%. Or, like I said, just kind of be watching at a store near you, because Blue Line Brews are now on the shelf.
Absolutely. And thanks a lot to them guys for not only supporting us, but for supporting the people that support our communities, right? So that's important. So who do you have right now? Who's hot? Who's not? What do you got?
Well, I still think Devin Moran is the car to beat, and Longhorns in general are still pretty tough. So I'm going with Devin Moran on the hot list. How about you?
I don't know, man. He sucked. That last night out, he got fourth. I mean, seriously, should probably quit. I mean, it's hard to not. How do you not pick him? I mean, he's got 2 wins, 4 seconds, a fourth. He led laps. I thought he was going to win that last one too, but Moran has been absolutely lights out. He's been incredible. I think he's probably the guy to beat right now. You start looking at it, Jimmy Owens, fresh off a win. We talked about Longhorn. He got in the Rocket, fresh off a win. Could he kind of peak here at East Bay? That'd be great to see. Another guy that's been running good quietly is RTJ. He's been there. He's been pretty solid. He's been pretty consistent. Keep an eye on him at East Bay. How about who's not?
Well, I was just bragging up Longhorns, and a guy that started out the year over at the Wild West Shootout hot was Mikey Marlar. He looked really good in his Longhorn, but struggle bus since he's been down in Georgia and Florida.
Yeah, he's been very good at all. And I talked about Brandon Overton earlier, and I get it. He's got 2 wins at Golden Isles. The first night he was a fatality of the droop rule, but a 9th and 11th. I mean, not even competitive the last 2 nights at Alltech. Maybe it was a satellite signal. I don't know. Just kidding. I have a feeling he's going to turn things around at East Bay. I was awfully surprised to see him it's one thing to maybe not get a top 5, but he just wasn't competitive. So let's look for him to bounce back here at East Bay. So with that said, let's talk about the sure bet of the week. And of course, Puka, our sure bet is brought to you by my sure bet, which is J. Schmidt Real Estate over in Watertown, South Dakota. So if you need land transactions, commercial, residential, 20 years in business, racing family, so support those that support us. He's been a racer forever, his dad, his son, but J. Schmidt Real Estate, that's my sure bet of the week. They're going to get the job done for you. What is your sure bet of the week?
All right, it's time for Tyler Erb to crank it into victory lane for his first Lucas win of the year. So I'm counting on Tyler Erb at some point this week to get her done at East Bay. He runs well there. How about you?
I'm going to go with double OA from north of the border. Steve Arpin is going to get at least 1 win in the modified. It's mod week at Volusia, and I have a feeling you're going to see that car. And I get it. Everybody's talking about the Nick Hoffman show. I don't know where Strickler's going. I didn't look to see if he's at East Bay or if he's going to Volusia. Let's see if he messaged me back, because I did shoot him a message, and I have not heard back from him yet. So with that said, that's my lock. Steve Arpin runs good down there. He's won a few that I think he had 1 year where he won like 5 of them. I mean, he had a pile of wins that 1 year down there. He gets around that place really good. He did get 1 prelim night win there last year. So look for him in that Longhorn by Lowenboro to park in Victory Lane down in the east side of Florida down there. So Puka, let's go to the last lap. Brought to you by
Zuli's Race Engine. So it's that time, racers. It's time to, I should say maybe it's that time, wives, to get the checkbook out because your hubby needs or boyfriend needs an engine. So Frank Zuli's been at it many years. We've gone over and over on all the wins, back in 2021. So get on the list, get your phone call made. Give Frank a call at Zuli's Race Engines, and he'll take care of you. He builds winners. We've seen that. Like I said, we've documented that very well here on the One to Go show.
Well, absolutely. And Valentine's Day is coming up, right? If you really want your husband or boyfriend to get you flowers, take you out to dinner, the least you can do is get him an engine and get a hold of Frank for that. So I think what's right is right. So I want to give a little shout out to our Wissota contingent down in Arizona. So Don Shaw so far down there, 3 wins, 2 in the modified, 1 in the late model. This weekend, he was over at Canyon Speedway Park, I believe Peoria, Arizona. And in the late model, he won night 1. He got second night 2. He got 5th night 1 in the mod. I'm not sure what happened there. I think he may have stepped on something in the heat race and got a little sideways and had a little bit of work to do. But he did get second there the second night. My dad said he had a pretty good hot rod both nights. And Davenport, an up-and-comer in the modified division. He's actually made it up to Grand Rapids a time or two. But he got a win Sunday night over at Mojave Valley Raceway from 9th in the IMCA mod, Bullhead City, Arizona. Puka, I was looking at his Facebook page, Devin Fouquet, and they had him in Victory Lane. I'm looking up in the crowd, and I saw 3 people. 3 in the crowd. I'm like, I texted him like, was there nobody there? Or he's like, it was empty. I'm talking, there couldn't have been 100 people there. Empty. There was nobody there. He said it was like Desert Storm. He says it was a dust bowl, but I don't know. I started looking at this. I've seen some tracks that are terrible. They get crowds. They must not do any promoting down there either, because there was absolutely nobody in the grandstands at that racetrack. It was unbelievable. And my dad actually made the trip over with a couple of the guys from up north. They went to Canyon, and he said the racing was pretty good, pretty nice facility. Kind of have their own little fight club going on. He says up in turn number 2, a couple drivers got out. They were throwing some haymakers at each other. He said the crowd went absolutely bonkers. We talked about this a couple weeks back at Tulsa. They said at the pit meeting, if you're going to fight, do it on the track for everybody to see, right? If you're going to fight in the pits, you're both booted. Yeah. I'm just saying, people like controversy, action. I'm not saying everybody needs to start pounding heads up, but if you got to do something to create excitement. And if they're going to do it, put it in front of the crowd, let them get it done. If it gets out of hand, break it up. But he said the crowd was on their feet. He said, think about hockey games. We'll go back to hockey, right? How nuts does a place go when all of a sudden the glove drops and they're throwing haymakers at each other?
Yeah, you've got to, in the NHL, junior hockey, you've got to have a fight a game. You've got to, the home team's got to score at least 3, whether they win or lose, and you've got to have at least one fight.
Our buddy Jeff Krause, right? He's a hockey coach. He'd probably race 3-4 nights a week if they had that.
Yeah.
I think, he's a little rowdy anyway. So, our current picks, let's look at our current picks here. Our defending champ, the one and only Bert Lehman, not with us here today, and some other stuff going on. Gapping us.
Scratching it out.
Right? He's got a guy up there giving him stick signals right now for the picks, and they're doing this deal, kind of they're tilting it like you're checking out. He's at 18. Jeff's at 12, and we're cellar dwellers. We're at 11, and Jeff reminded me, he says, remember, Puka didn't even pick the one race. I'm like, whatever. Right? So we got a full week. I got some work to do to catch up. But this week, let's just end it with this. There's 2 of the biggest, I guess, events, whatever you want to call it, East Bay Late Model Week, right? And Volusia Model Week. 2 of the biggest weeks in dirt track racing of the year. Now, what is so special to you about the late model week at East Bay?
Well, like I said, 70 cars. It's a little bit different than it was back in the day, I think. But 70 cars on a nice facility, track you can pass on. Of course, what's great about East Bay is how things can change as the tide comes in or the tide goes out. So, that's where maybe you can find a surprise winner sometime because, you set the car up and 2 hours later, the track changes so much, because of the weather. Now, I know you wanted to kind of highlight Volusia, what makes Volusia so special for the mod racers.
Yeah, because I don't think the late model racing at Volusia is all that spectacular, right? But the mod week there, what makes that so incredible is, over the years, there's so much money. All the NASCAR teams are down there. You see, how many times have you seen NASCAR teams jump in a mod? They have stuff going on. They got a big contingent down there. Schrader, Wallace. There's been several that have raced there. And the mod drivers specifically don't get that kind of stage very often, right? The late models get that big stage all the time. But that stage at Volusia, it's different than East Bay. East Bay, I enjoyed racing at East Bay more than Volusia, right? Because it's a short track. But when you get to Volusia, right, we're rolling into Daytona 500 time, right? We're rolling into all that. All the NASCAR fans are there. All the NASCAR people there. It's nothing to walk around during mod week at Volusia and see some of these, NASCAR team owners, drivers, all that. And just being able to race on that platform with that contingent there, it's a huge week. And we're talking cubic money. I mean, if you're going to go to Volusia with a modified, you better plan on spending some money because these guys are no joke. I mean, it's a big half mile, a lot of horsepower, a lot of tires. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. But I'd say Volusia Mod Week racing for that Gator is probably one of the most epic weeks of the year for modified racing. So Arpin's got it done before. I don't know if any other northern drivers are down there. Traditionally, we've had several down there. Brokings have gone down there. Buzzy's been there. Joe Jensen, Thatcher. I've been there. There's been several that have gone down there. But Steve Arpin he's turned some heads down there. And last year was really his first year kind of getting back into modified racing, right? And now after a full year, not that he raced a ton, but really more involved with the dirt side of things, I'm expecting to see that 00A run pretty good down there at Volusia. So good luck to Steve Arpin and East Bay. We're gonna have to get that. There's this year. Yeah. There's 2 years left. We're gonna have to go. We got to get down there. Strawberries, right? You got the strawberries strawberry shortcake at East Bay. I don't know if they still do or not. I guess we'll find out tonight, but they used to have what's called the Strawberry Dash. Remember that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Provenzino won one of those.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. What do you get? A basket of strawberries, or
you get like a whole tray or whatever? It's like a cardboard box.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely a unique place, but it's we'll talk more about East Bay coming up this week because we got a full week of racing down there in Florida. But episode 115 in the books. Anything else that you want to touch on before bringing it home?
Absolutely. Super Bowl week.
Yes.
Super Bowl week. What are you thinking?
Well, I know the Pro Bowl was yesterday. First thing I'll say there is they just got to cancel the Pro Bowl from now on because nobody watches it. Nobody cares at all. They're talking about player safety in the NFL, right? And now they want them to go play in a meaningless exhibition game. Get rid of that stupid thing. Take the worst two teams in the league, play them head-to-head for the first draft pick. Maybe that would be a more exciting game than the Pro Bowl, okay?
Yeah, I heard it was touch football yesterday.
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't watch it. I didn't look. The only thing I heard is one of the New Orleans Saints, Alvin Kamara, found out that having the Pro Bowl in Las Vegas was probably not a good idea because he might be out for a while.
Really? He's a little extracurricular?
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas unless you do something really, really stupid, and he did, and I think that he's facing some criminal charges, and which is good. I hate the New Orleans Saints. I hate the Saints, so that's good for them. I hate the Saints. After what they did to my Vikings, I hate them. It is what it is. So Super Bowl, I'll be watching it. I love the NFL. My Vikings and Bert's Packers are both watching. They're not going to be in it. Rams versus the Bengals. I'm an underdog guy. Of course, Joe Burrow says, quit calling us underdogs. We're not underdogs. We're a good football team. They're the underdog, just is what it is. I'm hoping the Bengals win, but I'll be watching. It's usually a pretty entertaining game. Will you be watching that? I know you're not a huge football guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll catch that. But yeah, I think, sentiment, talking to people is, I think everyone kind of wants to see Burrow win, but everyone thinks the Rams are going to win. I thought I heard something on a point spread too. Are they giving LA 10 or something? Or I mean, given the Bengals 10, I can't remember exactly, but yeah, Burrow's
3.5 or something, but I could be wrong. Was it 10?
This is just here, just kind of hearing it along the way. But yeah, I think Burrow's a guy, Burrow, obviously Brady's stepping away. Is Burrow the guy that can kind of carry the torch? We got, of course, a bunch of good young quarterbacks, although I heard Herbert threw how many picks in the Pro Bowl. I heard something, 5 or 6 yesterday or something. But anyway, good luck to both teams. And it'll be, everyone said when the Rams played the Patriots back in 2000 or 2001, whatever Super Bowl that was it the 0-2 Super Bowl for the 0-1 season? And it wasn't a chance that the Patriots could win. That was the greatest show on turf. There wasn't a chance. They had this rookie quarterback, Tom Brady, not a chance. And, we saw what happened there.
And the Giants knocking off the Patriots a couple times. So that's why they play the game. Yeah,
even last year, did really anybody think Tampa Bay was going to beat the Chiefs? Really? I mean, I certainly didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either. So there's hope. Let's go Bengals. Yeah. And watching right now, we got, I don't know if they're in B mains or heat races down there at East Bay, but I know the feature hasn't started yet, so we'll be able to catch that here shortly. So, Puka, good to have you back on. Episode 115 in the books. Always fun talking racing. Take us home, buddy.
All right, awesome. Yeah, great seeing you and Bert. Hope you had a good week off. Please like, comment, and share. We'd appreciate that. We still do have some swag. Just, message us or get a hold of us at theonetogoshow@gmail.com. We can get that to you. Thanks, as always, to our great partners, Dirt Track Supply, Soil and Egg Solutions, BuyRaceShirts.com, Zuli's Race Engines, Real Estate by Jay Schmidt, and, of course, Blue Line Brews with, like I said, the cute little K-Cups. Find us all on Facebook at Bert Lehman, at Racer Puka, at Ryan Aho. The One to Go Show is now on Rumble. Rumble seems to really be growing. It's another version of YouTube. So you just search. It's under G.O.A.T Sports Media LLC. You'll find the One to Go Show there. So if you're a Rumbler, we're there now. Snap over to our YouTube page, the One to Go Show. Give us a like there. I saw Hunt the Front went over 100,000 subscribers on their YouTube page. We have just over 100 subscribers, so we'd really appreciate. We have over 3,000 subscribers on Facebook, but we'd love if you're a YouTuber to get over there and give us a like. We'd appreciate that very much. So for Ryan Ale, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the One to Go Show.